Parks and Rec folks to come forward.
Just a reminder to speak into the microphone so we can pick it up for the live stream.
Okay, you got it.
Here's your clicker, we'll get your screen.
Thanks, Susie. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I hope you all got lunch and you're sleepy and don't have a lot of questions. Yes.
Unmuted.
It's hard for me to shake my old politician skills of talking a lot. Okay, are we ready? All right, thank you for this opportunity on behalf of our Parks and Rec Commission, and thank you to the Parks and Rec Commissioners who are here today. And I apologize ahead of time that you've already heard many of these things many times over. You probably could give this presentation yourself. We're going to do this Love Boat style. There's going to be a lot of special guest stars that are going to come up for their little pieces of this presentation. I just want you to, yes, yeah. You did. Okay, so the theme of our presentation today is translating our mandate that we received from the voters to action and results. We're going to cover both our operating budget and our capital asset plans. I want to acknowledge right off the bat, our entire county has seen, our government has seen an extraordinary amount of change. Perhaps Oakland County Parks might be right up at the top of the list in terms of the transformation that has occurred in the last 5 to 6 years. In 2019, we were at a point where we were eating away at our financial reserves to pay our operating costs, which is never a good thing. We were disinvesting in some of our major facilities, suffering from chronic understaffing. Then we went into the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, when parks were super popular, we had extreme challenges with staffing, and we're unable to open all of our facilities. We overcame that with your support, some bonuses, got our lifeguard positions filled, and now in support of the HR department, we have really streamlined and improved our seasonal hiring to the point now where we actually have more applicants than we know what to do with, which is a wonderful thing. The Healthy Communities ARPA investment was truly transformational in terms of the agreements that in partnerships we struck with communities like Oak Park, Pontiac, Southfield, Madison Heights, and we're able to invest in some historically under-resourced communities, revitalize some great parks. Then we went to another millage campaign, which was, of course, successful. And then during the last 2 years, we've been really focusing on taking this new mandate and putting it into action, doing a lot of reform internally and getting ourselves in a good position to successfully execute on all this. So one thing I just want to note, because our budget is quite a bit different than the other budgets for various purposes. First of all, we are not a general fund budget. We are an enterprise budget. We are required, and always have been for our 60 years, to be financially self-sustaining, primarily through property taxes that are approved by the voters. We also receive a fair amount of fees for use, golf courses, water parks, campgrounds, about $10 to $12 million, and that's how we operate. I cannot go to Mr. Leffler and ask for money from the general fund because he will show me the exit door immediately. We also are heavily reliant upon seasonal staff. So some of the numbers that show up in our standardized charts sometimes look a little bit askew as compared to other departments. We'll cover that when we get to that area. We also expend quite a bit of money on capital improvements. And because we're an enterprise fund, we have something reflected in our budget that you don't see in a lot of other budgets, which is depreciation. It's an accounting mechanism that really is meant to force agencies like ours or sewer and water departments to sock away money for replacement of things as they're aging. So what might look like quite a bit of money in expenditures is actually not a cash expense. It is sort of a pass-through that at the end of the year gets washed out of our budget, and then that money tends to go into our net reserves savings account. And of course, we also operate quite a bit on a partnership basis, both operating properties that we own, but also increasingly through long-term partnership agreements with local communities and programming partnerships, et cetera. We try to expand our reach and leverage dollars as far as we can by seeking out actively partners. What do we do? Well, of course, we operate parks and outdoor spaces. We offer recreation facilities, enterprise businesses. We have enterprises within our enterprise, so golf, campgrounds, water parks. Each one of those are commissioned over the years have set cost recovery goals that are, comparable to what the expectation would be if something is an individual benefit versus a public benefit. So we do try to recover for our golf courses 100% of our operating expense. If we get an A+, we've actually socked away a little bit of money for reinvestment in the capital equipment. We've struggled a little bit more with water parks, covering those costs over the years. Campgrounds are sort of in the middle, but we've been on the upward trajectory. I'll say the one that's always been the most challenging for us is we have these event centers that are larger facilities for weddings and special events and that type of thing. And over the years, we had an outside contractor, and it really wasn't a great business deal for us. We've now switched over to operating those ourselves, and we've got significant improvement in that area. Shared with the voters back in 2024 when they gave us almost a 70% mandate at an increased millage tax rate. So immediately we implemented our free park entry across the system. We are about halfway into this commitment of $100 million in capital investments. We are in the planning stages and conversation stages of being more involved in the regional trailway network. We definitely have made big ground, which we'll talk about in a little bit, in terms of expanding our system to get closer to our population centers. We are also investing more in accessible equipment for people of all ages and abilities, more school field trips, we'll be talking about that, and our river systems, which we also are making some significant ground, and we also every year make significant investments in habitat improvement, our natural areas as well. So we have translated that after the millage passed into what we call Mission 26. And Mission 26 was a transformation plan to update us for where the world is now and where it's going. We had a paradigm shift in the world of parks in 2020 in the pandemic. Parks really changed what they were, what their purpose were, as people flocked to them for relief from the pandemic and all of the requirements to be isolated. And from that also came a whole lot of scientific evidence that showed a direct connection between access and use of parks and health outcomes. So all that then adds up to a whole lot of other implications. So if we are health and wellness, and we are essential to community health and wellness, there are problems when you leave people out, of course. So increasing access, making sure that we're investing in all of our communities, not having concentrated benefit in some areas is increasingly important. What the evidence shows also is it's just as important to get people to keep coming back and using things like walking trail loops and enjoying the healthy activities and how parks are designed. All those things sort of feed into those health outcomes. So if we're going to keep talking about that, we have to back it up with action. And it's also not enough to just build a great park. You have to make sure it's full of people and alive with activity. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Another paradigm shift that we're all living with is climate resilience. And the amount of environmental needs is just continuing to grow every year exponentially. We have a game plan that Ashley will be talking about to turn this into a learning to citizen action pipeline of environmental stewardship. And of course, it's incumbent upon us to prove that we are making smart investments with the tax dollars that the voters have given us measuring outcomes and adapting and changing and getting as much public value for the public as possible. So that's where Mission 26 comes into play. And I'm going to turn it over to Simon Rivers. If you haven't met Simon yet, he is our Chief of Strategic Partnerships. He's going to talk a little bit about the partnership agreements that we have reached in the last year or so and how that's expanded our park system. Go ahead, Simon.
Great. So hi, commissioners and everyone. Like Chris said, I'm Simon Rivers, Chief of Strategic Partnerships and Initiatives. And one of the pillars of what we are talking about, our commitment, is about reaching our residents, bringing county park benefits closer to residents. And we're talking about not just practical access, but, we're talking about practical access. We're not just talking about adding parks on a map. And so historically, Oakland County Parks has excelled at destinations and bringing folks out to the water parks or to our large, beautiful lakes and serene, peaceful environments, which we still seek to do. But we also, that model was not geographically completed. There were so many holes in that model. So these new parks and partnerships are about bringing not just bringing people to parks, but bringing parks to the people and bringing the county service closer to major population centers. And so we want to talk about not just opening these new parks, but creating meaningful and repeated use. And so I wanted to bring us to our attention to the screen a little bit. To the left of the screen, we're talking about our expanded presence, our new parks, our partnership parks that we've created with the city of Pontiac and Pontiac Oaks, Rochester and Rochester Hills with Clinton River Oaks, Oak Park Woods at Shepherd Park, as well as Bloomfield Oaks with the Johnson Nature Center, and Discovery Oaks with Bowers School Farm. Also coming online next year are Southfield Oaks, the city of Southfield, and Turtle Woods in the city of Troy. And then we also have Pine Lake Park, which is a part of West Bloomfield Parks, as an affiliate park. And so we're really excited to be bringing parks closer to people. You can see that our 2020 baseline was that the average distance to an Oakland County park was 3.7 miles in 2020, but now today it is 2.9 miles. And with the new parks coming online next year, it'll be 2.7 miles. And you can see that we've gone from, in 6 or 7 years, from 40% of folks living within 3 miles of Oakland County parks to now 64% of folks of residents living close or within 3 miles of an Oakland County park. So we want to continue to improve things for our residents, using our parks as a means for better health and stronger communities. So.
Thanks, Simon. So just to underline on that before I bring Alan up, because this is a very key performance measurement for us, there's a fundamental thing that underlies having a countywide millage, and that is that we have a countywide benefit that all of our residents can have an equal opportunity to enjoy. Historically, we have had a challenge with the users of our park being geographically heavily concentrated in certain areas of the county. And we recently signed a contract with a company called Advan that gives us data based on cell phone usage. It's giving us better than any time in the recent past a picture of who's using our parks. And more than half of them are living in an area of north central, northwestern Oakland County that represents about 20% of the population. And then we have, a strip of basically Novi through Rochester Hills of suburban, population centers in the southeast corner of the county where 60% of the population lives, but that represents 30% of the users of our park system. So, for us to prove this value and prove fair and equitable investment that can be enjoyed by all residents, we have to grow our park system. So these partnerships that you've been seeing one right after another, that's what's getting it. It's not an opportunity-based thing. It's a thoughtful process of adding facilities that get us reach into communities like Rochester, Bloomfield, West Bloomfield, Oak Park, expanded presence in Southfield, with Troy and Turtle Woods next year. By the time we're done with this, and we are pretty much getting to the point where we're wrapping up our expansion phase here. We're going to have a park within reach of just about everybody in the county, especially those folks who live in those population centers. So thank you for your support of those as we've come along, and we have made huge progress in just a few years. So now it isn't enough just to have great parks. We have to activate them with great programs, great experiences that keep them coming back, and that's where my top deputy, genius, talented guy here, Alan, comes in.
All right, so as Chris has mentioned, reach is important, but return is really about making sure our investment creates lasting value, not just a one-time visit. So our goal is to design parks, programs, and experiences that become a part of people's everyday lives. So places where they want to recreate, where they want to learn, volunteer, and connect throughout the year, all 4 seasons. So historically, we've been good at counting numbers of visits. One person in this park, particularly with our destination parks. We know, many folks will come once or maybe twice a year, but are those same residents coming back across many parks, or are they coming back to their local park? Our ultimate benchmark, and the research shows 3 times a year. And this matters because the first time creates awareness. And if we're building and caring about the health and wellness outcomes, we need folks to be using our parks frequently. And so there is a little bit of evolution of how we're collecting data, but figuring out, can we and do we have a portfolio of experiences that people want to come back to time and time again? And when parks become part of their routine, that's when the public investment produces real results. Next up?
Yep, next up is
Connect.
Aaron Watson, I believe.
Our new Chief of Health and Wellness.
Yes, our newest team member, Aaron Watson, came to us through our partnership at the Bauer School Farm, is the Chief of Health and Wellness Initiatives.
Yeah, so hello, nice to meet everyone. When you talk about health and wellness, that's can be a big elephant to eat. And it's like, what does that look like?
This is what it looks like.
This is what it looks like. What is parks' position there? How can parks be a supplement to the health and wellness of the residents of Oakland County, right? So, we know, what do we know? We know that social connection is integral in having a sense of health and wellness. We know that getting out into nature gives people a perceived sense of health and wellness. So when we can do those things together and couple that, that's the win-win there. That's where the magic happens in the intersect. So, some of the things that we're doing right now, we have our older adults, active living, folks who are, who adaptive recreation. They're doing some really great programming. I have a little anecdotal story. My second day on the job, I was invited to a meeting in the lazy river at Red Oaks. And I thought, I love these people already. This is fantastic. What I saw when I got there were a lazy river full of all sorts of ages, actually. It wasn't just older adults. But I had no idea, not being there before, part of that program, the impact that it would have. It was a good workout. And I go to the gym, but it was a good workout. But the smiles on people's faces, people are getting there with their friends and they're walking the river and getting outside and being active. These are the things that we want to see and continue to do and develop. We're also, Farmers Market and Bowers Farm are some of the really great things on the horizon with this new partnership with Bowers Farm. We have such a great opportunity here to keep curating this learning space that is a small working farm in Bloomfield that a lot of people don't realize is there right now. It's growing. And then now what we can do is take that and create a value system around our local food economy with the farmers market. So there's some great opportunities to dovetail that work as well. Of course, then utilizing those spaces for food and nutrition programs, intradepartmentally across the county, staying really connected, but also building those partnerships with our local nonprofits, our corporate sponsors, and then, having everyone be invested in the health and well-being of the residents, because that's going to then have a positive feedback loop, right, into our local economy. Belonging, connection, these are also all points on the wellness wheel, which is my love language to talk about, but making people feel like they belong no matter where they're from. This is a welcome space. These are welcome spaces. So really being intentional in our outreach and our design of our programs in spaces so that everyone has equity in access to that. And then what does that look like? So what we really want to see is there's multiple points of entry with this. There is I have never been to this space before. I am not comfortable with being outside. I am not comfortable being around animals. Creating those experiences that are just the 101, right? Meeting people where they're at, but then developing these programs to have deeper connections and better outcomes so that they keep coming back to these spaces and keep using the programs, right? And then you have your full-on Thrive. I am like hot to try. I love my parks. I am now coming back to volunteer, right? These are all ways that we need to engage the community, and the work has already started. So one of the things, what do we know? Again, we know that social connection and exposure to outdoors creates a sense of wellness. We know that keeping people connected to each other is part of what's healthy in a community. We know connected communities are resilient communities. So that's essentially what we're trying to build here. So to talk a little bit more deeper about the relationships and the how do we do this with outdoor learning will be Ashley. She can talk about care and how discovery and learning can grow stewardship. Thanks.
Thanks. Hello, I'm Ashley Smith. I'm the Chief of Outdoor Learning and Environmental Stewardship, and I'm excited to share with you how we're going to build a care pathway to really accomplish our goals, and instead of just sparking the wonder, thank you, inspiring it into action. So I hope that you all have had an experience out in the natural world, maybe in the woods or looking out onto the lake, and really got that sense of wonder and awe out in the natural world. So how do we harness that power and inspire that into real action in our parks and in our natural areas? So our care pathway takes that experience and it moves it from just that experience part into understanding and stewardship. And so how do we do that? So through what was mentioned before with the addition of our partnership parks like Bowers and Johnson, Pontiac Oaks, Clinton River Oaks, Turtle Woods, we're expanding access and opportunities out throughout the county so that folks can experience that sense of wonder for one and get that access. We're also doing it through programs and partnerships. So our early childhood programs and school field trips. So working to connect with all 28 school districts throughout the county and building up their experiences that they have within our parks or even in their schoolyard. And then also working with our partners, MSU Extension. We had an opportunity to work with them this summer and create the first ever outdoor discovery camps at the Red Oaks Nature Center and the Wint Nature Center. And so that was a really great partnership to explore in ways that we could connect more youth in a really immersive way in the summer over the course of a week at a time and get to experience the amenities that our parks offer, like paddling and fishing and archery, but then also nature study and really getting to dive deep into the natural world and create that sense of wonder and bring it along the care pathway to understanding and stewardship. And then from there, we want to open up those doors into not just stewardship of how we protect and care for the land, but make that public facing and participatory. So not just something that gets done behind the scenes, but how do we engage the community in a real experience so that they take ownership of our parks and feel like they belong there and they're part of the park experience too. So people are more likely to care for the places that they working to build more experiences like that. So the goal is bigger than volunteerism. It's to build a countywide culture of care, that care pathway. And so that looks like starting with discovery, sparking that sense of wonder, moving that along the continuum into a learning where they can seek to understand, and then giving them a chance to take action, and really creating that positive environmental impact as well as the community impact, and then impacting the individual so that they feel that strong connection to our parks. So how do we know that it's working? So we're going to make these commitments. We've have an obligation to show whether they're working and being able to identify those measurable objectives to prove our success. So to talk about that is Esther.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I believe it's fair to say at least a couple of us can relate to giving a child a number of dollars, whether it was $20 or even $50, and having them return, having spent that amount of money, and for us to say, that's what my money paid for, versus, that's what my money paid for? Wow. Well, it's fair to say when it comes to prove, we'd certainly like our residents of Oakland County to have the latter as the sentiment when it comes to what we're doing with our public investment for Oakland County parks. So with prove, what we are talking about is the accountability for us as the Oakland County Parks Department. We're talking about showing what's working. We are also talking about who's benefiting, as well as what we should work on improving next. With the proof, a few elements that come into the picture are things that speak to how we're measuring a lot of what my colleagues and my boss talked about when it comes to the reach, when it comes to the actual impact we're having for the return, as well as the connectivity and the care. Some of those steps that we are taking are actually looking at, even internally, how we are being intentional about our data strategy, how we're working with our data team to be able to discern what actual success metrics do we need to identify in advance, and what data is going to tell us about the progress we're actually making, as well as what it looks like when it comes to promotional opportunities, the strategies that we're using for marketing, and what it looks like to those who are on the receiving end. So we're working inside and out. And with the proof, that accountability spreads as far as not only the measurement aspect, but also stepping into those realms that speak to how are we approaching the multiple age brackets, multiple generations that benefit from our parks. When we think in terms of the geographic location and the distribution, something that comes to mind for me is the essence really of you get a park, you get a park, you get a park, and you get a park. And essentially what we're talking about is the accessibility as well as looking at the equity and access. And so we want to ensure that we're not just talking a good game, but we are about what we say we're going to do. And we also seek the feedback from the resident voice. Our one tool is Co-Creation Lab, which is an opportunity where we are not just having them come into the picture when things are almost done, but we're soliciting their input, their ideas when it comes to formulation of our plans for parks, for the renovations, for the amenities, for the programs that we're putting into place. So those are essentially the steps that we are taking. And it all boils down to, we want to ensure that when we look at a busy park, we're not equating that to impact. So it goes beyond just seeing the busyness, the hustle and bustle, or the popularity of a park, but it goes into how well are we fulfilling what we set out to accomplish, what we promised, and how well are we turning the public investment into measurables that speak to the public being able to see where their investment dollars are going. So coming behind me, Jim is going to show how much of it is already visible on the ground through our 2025 and 2026 milestones.
All right, good job, Esther. Jim Dunleavy, Manager of Park Operations. I get to talk about the great things that we've been doing. Super excited about it. We transitioned Pontiac Oaks, which was, thank you, Alan, which was Hawthorne Oaks when we first took it on. When we first got there, there was a huge hole in the roof of the restroom building. The dock was kind of sinking into the lake, and we were able to use our staff and the ARPA funding and go in there and make it a really incredible park. We just did the grand opening a couple weeks ago. We're super proud of everything that we did there. There's some incredible trails. We updated the disc golf course. It's amazing, and our staff are super excited to be part of it. When we first got there, it was just a lot of cleanup. We brought all our staff in together, had a nice picnic out there, and did a lot of cleanup. So huge milestone for us. You should be proud of that park. People love going there. A lot of great comments now about that park. Another park that we transitioned was in Oak Park. We call it Oak Park Woods. Incredible park. When we first got there, that needed, it wasn't that bad of a park, but what we did was we really made it something that's a lot more usable for people. The trails are better, the restrooms are better, the pavilion is incredible, the playground is unbelievable. Super excited when we just recently did the grand opening there. People loved it, and we're still putting more money into that park. Something that we're able to do to help match the ARPA funding is that we have our own staff and our own team and our own crew that we're able to go down and actually even join into a lot of these projects. So we're working on the second pavilion that's there. We replaced the roof and we're redoing the underneath of that building. So there's just a lot of great things at Bowers Park, the farm. We're on site there already now. We're doing some updates to the tubing hill that's there. The staff are doing a great job, making things better. Not that it wasn't bad, but they're just really helping make it, even better. Let's see. Clinton River Oaks, we actually spent some time there last week. We're super excited about that park. A lot of trails, a lot of mountain bike trails. We'll be working with Cramba and the volunteers that are out there. We're going to be doing a lot of updates at the parking lot and making some upgrades to the restroom building there. But you'll definitely see more and more to come. Some of the other, is this the next clicker? Oh, the next clicker, some of the new, thank you, Chris. I don't know who's doing that, but thank you, Kevin. Oh, thank you, Alan. Really excited about some of the new things that are on the horizon. Montgomery Park, which is going to be now part of Red Oaks. It's right there down in the same complex. Catalpa Oaks, hopefully that fence will be down soon. We're super excited of seeing a little more progress happening there. Southfield Oaks, that's still in the works, but we've got a lot of awesome concepts. That's one of them that's up on the screen. Turtle Woods, we just finally settled on the property a week ago, so we're really, really excited about that park. It's going to be incredible. And then in Waterford Oaks, that's in the process. A lot of work still to be done at Waterford Oaks, but when we're done with it, it's going to be incredible. So I don't know who's up after me. Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Jim, how many years now?
Over 40 years.
Yeah. Jim has been with Oakland County Parks for over 40 years, started as a teenager. Yep. We talk about aging assets, I think. Okay. So, I don't know if you have a depreciation schedule. I know I do. It's not looking good. Okay, now to the fun charts. You're going to you can see the picture here. Of course, the major impact here is the approval of the millage and the first winter tax collection has certainly expanded our revenues. And where we have, and of course our revenues balance to our expenditures. So, that's the major picture that you're going to see in the charts here. Of course, property taxes have grown significantly. While not as large of a number, we are pretty proud of the charges for services, which are those fee-based incomes. The commission years ago contracted with a golf consultant who really updated our fee schedule and our business practices so that now 4 of our 5 golf courses are operating in the black, which is first time, I think, probably in history. And the 5th one, the issue is it's on a public water supply, so that makes it a little difficult to meet that goal. But it's getting pretty darn close to meeting that objective, too. So where is all this money going? Immediately after the millage passed, Commission approved a plan to put this money into one-time improvements. We also thought it was very important to put it into visible things that people could see as quickly as possible. So what we did is we scaled up a number of those ARPA projects. So because they were construction projects that were already in the pipeline, sometimes it takes a number of years from concept to delivery to get a capital improvement project, especially of a larger scale. So we have put the new millage revenue capacity into one-time improvements, funding some of these partnerships. A few of them required an initial payment to a community or some upfront costs, but for the majority of them, there was no acquisition costs. We also have made some acquisitions around the boundaries of some of our parks to add, key property that have been on our target list for years. And we also are building our reserve, our financial reserve. So our capital improvements are funded out of our savings account, our net position. So it's always important for us to find that right balance between, maintaining operating expenses at a stable level that provides the service quality that the public expects, but not growing to the point that it eats away at our ability to save and put money back into the reserve to put back into capital improvement projects in the future. We are certainly in a much better position than we were several years ago, and that number is growing. And when we look at some of our challenges and constraints, we went from a $2 million a year capital improvement plan in 2020 to now we have more than $30 million in active projects, probably even well above that. What do you think, 40? Yeah. And a $15 million a year capital improvement plan for each year in the outset. So how do we plan on, working through this? We're going to use a little bit of Mr. Leffler's advice because he knows how to do this well. We're going to look to contract for some services that can provide that temporary surge growth without having to create a bunch of FTEs. And we need to work through a bunch of decisions about what are we going to build. That's always the hardest thing in the parks world because everybody has opinions. And it all needs to make sense. And if it's going to be in a park system, it needs to make sense within that park system. We have to consider the parks that are in the community so then we're not duplicating effort, those types of things. So often the hardest part is just making that initial decision of what are you going after. Then we can move things along pretty quickly. Personnel, I will say we did add some staffing capacity, especially earlier in the decade. We were suffering from really severe chronic understaffing, especially on the front lines. I think Jim could attest to this. People were really stretched thin, especially during the pandemic. We used to have the trustees from the jail would provide services. That went away with the pandemic. So our groundskeepers, our maintenance folks, our park operations folks, were really quite stretched thin. So we added quite a bit of capacity there. We also have added some professional talent and experience to our team that's allowed us to go into a whole lot of other areas that has really facilitated this expansion era of partnerships as well. And we've made major investments in natural resources management and habitat improvement across the board. So this picture is a mix of both full-time, part-time, permanent staff, and seasonal staff. So it does, make it a little difficult to take a look at this and get a full, complete picture. One of the things that we have decided to do is to really take our foot off the gas pedal when it comes to creating new full-time equivalent employees, look at other alternatives, contracting for services, et cetera, because those costs are going up. As far as the part-time staff goes, I think, we have quite a bit more flexibility and would certainly appreciate the ability to fill those positions as services require. But what you have in your budget here today, I think, is a net 6 full-time positions related to primarily 2 of the sites that we've added to our system, Discovery Oaks and Bloomfield Oaks. Those were both Bloomfield Hills School District properties that had very active programs for school field trips. They have a farm there. I don't know how to manage livestock. Chris said she won't come and clean out the stalls for me. No. So we did have to ramp up some staffing for that, and to be able to really take advantage of the opportunity to ramp up the number of kids in school field trip and camp experiences. You need educators. You need folks especially that get their joy and happiness out of kids. Seeing all that wonder get sparked and joy. So we have really, slowed down the FTE expansion because, we cannot sustain that over the long haul without eroding our capacity to reinvest in our capital improvements. So the capital improvement plan, we have basically a $15 million a year plan for each year. This is a bit of a placeholder because we are looking towards getting towards a sort of a surge of extra capacity because we have expanded Pontiac Oaks. Phase 2 there, when we get a final decision on the farmers market location, and we have this bicentennial property across the street. Waterford Oaks needs a major renovation. So we may have 30, 40, $50 million to bring to expand this. And if we've got a roadmap to get that into financed and deployable, executable construction projects, we'll be moving that along as quickly as we can. The other thing that we're doing is building a much better system of accounting for the life cycle and asset costs, not just of facilities, but maintenance decisions. When we do things like start a controlled burn that manages the natural resources, that can create a long-term, if not permanent, requirement to maintain that. So that's one of the things Esther has been working on, and we're going to improve over the long haul. We are building our long-term capital capacity for that strategic investment. Depending on how those numbers work out, we may seek some, municipal tax-free bonding if Mr. Leffler suggests that, or try to do as much as we can out of cash on hand. This chart here, I think, refers to ongoing federal grants that are reflected in our operating budget. We do have ARPA money that is still being finalized out. So we have some one-time federal money that's in our system. We also are anticipating acceptance of a major earmark that Congresswoman Stevens was able to get for us for the farmers market. So just trying to wrap up here. There are some factors, though, that just, to put in front of you, because these are costs that come back and reflect on us, and we have very limited control over them. So while we can control the number of positions, the wage rates are really set here. And when they compound year after year upon year, those costs can go up quite a bit. We also pay indirect costs, charges to the county government for some of the services we receive. The law enforcement services rates, we were one of the major contractors with the sheriff's office. And those rates, of course, you've heard all about that. We have been adapting by looking at alternatives. Jim's been leading up that effort. Not in all cases do we need a badge and a gun for those duties. And in those cases, we're going to try to ramp down on the number of hours that we're contracting for. Climate and extreme weather. We've seen it this year. The air quality issues had caused some major interruptions in some of our services. The extreme heat days, it's going to require a change in how we do business. It's going to require some changes in terms of creating resilient recreational experiences that we can maintain. Winter recreation has really suffered because snow. Every year we say there's no snow, and then one year comes and it's nothing but snow. So it's hard to predict. Tariffs, supply chains, all those inflationary increases, of course, hit our budget as well. So this is all a partnership, and you are major partners in that, so we wanted to recognize that because I don't know how many times I've called each one of you over the years. These agreements we've birthed with these communities never were quite that easy, and so in each case, I think I've had to call on you to help close those deals, and apologize if the AI changed any of your faces.
Yes, I was just about to say. I was about to say.
All right.
I don't like my picture either, so.
Alan, I told you.
Is
don't
that
use
me?
picture.
Is that?
This ain't but a mic. You see too much Justin, man. And that don't look like.
All right. I totally threw him under the bus.
All
It
right.
was me.
Is that me, Chris, in the kayak?
I will
Okay,
say it took an hour to do this.
Yeah.
So
You should have let me
this
have
is good.
I didn't do it.
All right, all right, all
All
right.
right, we're bringing it.
Welcome Commissioner Powell to the meeting.
Yes, Mr. Powell is here.
Yes.
We do have the chair handling the chicken here. I just want to note that.
I am not a farm girl. That was
Okay.
brave of me, so.
All right. I know we were a little bit long. I thank you for your
It's
attention.
okay.
and Happy to take questions.
All right, we're gonna start with Commissioner Long, followed by Commissioner Gershenson.
My glasses. Okay, thank you. So mine is on page 383 in the big budget, the professional service line, which is down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I looked in the categorical, but I don't understand. So it was 622, and then we're 30,000, and then we're going back up, and it just says professional service is decreased by 592,000 due to a one-time reduction to be restored in out years. So what was why are we reducing for 1 year? And then what was included in that 622 professional services? Maybe I should know this, I just don't know.
Is
And why
this
is it
year's
decreasing?
upcoming professional services?
We need you to use the mic when you're gonna be answering.
Yeah, come on. This is my phone a
See
friend,
where I am
Kevin.
on that 383 on professional services, and I did look in the categorical for explanation, but it
Yeah.
doesn't really explain it.
So I talked to fiscal today about that. It's going to be reduced down to 30,000 going forward. That was it should have been 30,000 going forward. Those were services that were used for the millage vote for the last couple of years. That were used toward millage activity, so.
Wait, so the next year, so are you saying then it
That's
won't
not
go
the-
back up to 652, it's going to be 30,000?
Yep, there will be a finance committee amendment coming to have that at 30,000 for the out years as well.
All right, well, see, that was a good catch of mine, thank you.
Yes, it was. You can always count on Commissioner Long for doing the deep dive. All right, Commissioner
Okay.
Gershenson.
Well, Chris, I've always said that great leaders build a great team. And I'm really proud of the team that you have today. Yourself, of course, but starting with Alan, who's just got the great vision. And Aaron, I have to ask you, where are you from? Have we met before?
We have.
Okay,
Yes.
I thought so.
Johnson
So
Nature Center.
you took both of them. I just didn't know that. I mean, another great superstar from my district. I wanted to say that Simon does a great presentation. You were great in committee the other day. Jim, of course, we've known each other. I'm a lot younger. Ashley, I think this outdoor learning is really exciting. And Esther, so great to have that accountability piece because the millage was extremely successful and you can answer to the public where that money is going. And I think that's extremely important. So great job. I am so proud of our parks and our commissioners I know that are on the Parks Commission contribute a great deal.
Yeah, thank you. I know there's been questions about succession planning and other. I'm free to play in traffic now. We got a great team, so. Exactly. Okay.
Commissioner Spiz, followed by Commissioner Smith-Charles, and then did you want to go to? Yeah. Did you have your hand raised? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here today. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate the introduction. Just one question on your slides, first question, I should say. On your slides, you stopped at 2027. What about 28 and 29 and the forecast out in those years?
Yeah, we do have some projects that are in the hopper. One of the highest profile one is the farmer's market. We are still working on finalizing a location. That's kind of the biggest upstream decision, and then we'll be able to get really serious to work on planning, what that facility will look like. We have Waterford Oaks major construction project. We have the water park right now that is not operating, and that's a high priority for our commission and us to finalize a vision for that. So some of this is a little bit fungible because we are still working through the creative, frankly, to then get it into the pipeline, get it all costed out, understand the life cycle costs, all those things. So we're pushing it through as quick as we can, but it's getting past that creative.
All right, thank you. And it leads into some of my other questions. Yes, I do appreciate that, but looking at some of the 28, 29, because they are in the book, right? You guys did put forecasts in there for 29 and 27. So based on some of those capital projects, which are also in here, are those accurate in here, or do you expect those to fluctuate? Because I've seen some that, which Commissioner Long brought up, there was one year that was way lower than others in 27, 28, and 29. So I'm trying to understand, is that numbers that are going to shift with additional budget amendments coming through? Because I could pick them out if you really want me to.
Yeah, one of the things with the capital budget, it's a little bit unusual, is that the projects often will be active for multiple years. And so, we do want to try to get to a point where we're at a steady state. But right now, it's about getting identified projects with roughly accurate costs into this pipeline, and we are building better capacity to do that. Our team did an extraordinary job to get us through that ARPA, surge, but we also identified in that process some things that need to be improved, and so we're working through that. So that's why you're seeing some, some fungibility in that, but we're hoping to get that this fall kind of firmed up, go back through the commission, get them approved, and if we need a budget amendment, we'll be back to talk to you.
Okay, just a couple examples so you can take notice. Page 382, 7309, 26, which is indirect cost, 27 is at 950,000. 28 and 29 go to 1.4 million, and 28 is at 1.4 million. So I'm wondering why the drop then peaked back up. And then the second one is page 383 for security. Drops down to 911 and 27, and then goes back up to 1.4. Which is currently at 1.3. So
that's the
why
same.
the dip and come back up?
That's the same answer as the one for Commissioner Long that I talked to fiscal today, and we'll be doing that, correcting those in the Finance Committee amendment. They should, the security expense and the indirect cost should be at the higher number for the out years. It was just lowered.
That's what I figured.
Yep.
Okay, I do have a question. This might be more for fiscal services. I did see it in this budget, but maybe a few others. 382 for fringe benefits on retirement. I see a drop, and it drops. In 27, drops again in 28, but then goes back up a little 29. I saw it in HR and WRC too. So what is driving that from a fiscal service perspective? Are we getting people that are not, I don't see we're reducing staffing. So from a retirement perspective, is that number accurate? Is it dropping off? Is there something due to the bond that we're adjusting for in there?
The retirement reduces in 28 and 29 because the retiree health care bonds expire in 2027. So that
The
cost
bonds,
will
the
no
retirement
longer be
which we know about.
charged out to the departments.
Okay, thank you. And then I think my final question for the day, maybe.
I know you know where to find me.
I know where to find you. I'm just trying to get them out so everybody sees it. Because you mentioned depreciation. I did look through all that depreciation. I'm assuming all these depreciation dollar changes, because they're all going up in 27, 28, and 9, we're basing on the new capital that we're planning to do or have done and depreciate over the year. And then a question for fiscal. How long is our depreciation? Do we do a 15, 20, 30 year? I know it's different for different products, but I saw it in some other things like WRC.
I think it depends on what it is.
Depreciation of
right?
$14,000. I'm like, how long are we carrying that stuff?
Depends on the asset.
Right.
Different assets carry different depreciation schedules. So it just depends on what we build and how long the depreciation is on each asset.
What's normal? What's general? I'm assuming you only have a handful,
equipment
right?
could be a lot of times 10 years, 5 to 10 years. A building is normally about 30 years.
Playground, like 20, something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is that it, Commissioner? Commissioner Spiz, you're done? Okay. Commissioner Smith Charles, followed by Commissioner Taylor. Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate Mr. Spitz's very relevant budget questions, whereas mine are more narrative-based. First off, I feel like I'm missing an Okie. I don't know if you guys miss me in the Okies. Thank you very much. And
I gave you the stress thing.
Yeah. I would like to know when can commissioners perhaps arrange a seed ball throwing professional development event? So put that on your list.
Okay.
And I love how Esther referred to a busy park doesn't necessarily, and I'm paraphrasing, a busy park doesn't necessarily mean a successful park. And I think we drive by, you see a bunch of people, you're like, oh, it's successful. But I love the metrics about pretty much average three visits a year. And I'm sure we're working on how to improve that. And then I thought about how often I've been to the parks, and have I been back to those parks more than once? I won't answer that. Oh, and then another colleague, I think they wanted me to ask about Red Oaks' wave pool. Red Oaks has a wave pool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the situation there, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so Red Oaks, similar to Waterford Oaks, aging. It was built in the mid-'80s, and a lot of deferred investment there. Commission will have a decision to make whether you want to re-up on that or not. I think we're heading towards presenting something to you next couple of months. Give you a full, complete picture in terms of total cost, impact, who benefits, trade-off scenarios, how you could spend the money elsewise.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you for putting that into the record. And I do recall at our last Parks meeting, which was last Wednesday, that we were really adamant about taking care of the things we have now. We don't want people to think we're forgetting about some of our legacy infrastructure, as I'll refer to it. So thank you very much. And you're probably going to maybe perhaps respond to some of these commissioner questions maybe between now and when we vote moving forward. But I am a little curious about it. But I have the privilege of being able to ask you during other instances. So
okay.
I will yield. Thank you, Ms. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Taylor.
Hi, thank you for this great presentation. I really have enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm one of those Red Oaks river water. I was just there last night. I really do enjoy it. The wave pool, I do understand, and I know exactly what you're saying. So you really do have to weigh the cost versus the benefit, because a lot of people use it, but the cost. So I'm there with you. I understand, and I'm looking forward to your decision.
Well, their decision. I'm 10 feet behind.
And thank you for presenting your successions. My question was more like, well, you really have identified all of your key positions, and then you do have succession planning in place. So I don't have to ask those, but you have a lot of contracts that you deal with, and I was wondering how have you categorized those by what they are and then years, and then how we as commissioners can help you stay on top of those so that we're not at the last minute asking for, we need this signed in 2 weeks and you don't have a meeting or that kind of thing. Yeah. So what can we do as commissioners to help you with those types of things? And I know you have a lot of them. So your process, or you're categorizing those. And
Yeah, I think Mr. Lefter, I watched his presentation. He talked about strategic sourcing agents.
Yes.
And I think we were one of the first experiments with that. And we're able to bring over Andy Crumweedy, who's a veteran of our procurement office. He's made a huge difference for us. And we, the amount of contracts and funds that are running through our system is so much more than it used to be. But when we're talking about these capital projects already, he's showing us where we can get a lot more value, where we can schedule these things out in a more thoughtful way so that we're not closing whole parks and having interruptions in services, using an owner's rep to look at the best scenarios for us to execute on these contracts. So yeah.
So, and just remember that you do have friends on the board. We want to work with you. So if there's something that we can do to help,
I appreciate that.
we'd rather help you now than wait to,
I'm not shy about calling all of you. So
Thank you.
It's a two-way street. You
Yeah.
know.
And your presentation answered a lot of the questions that I did have, and the budget questions were already asked. So thank you again for your presentation, and thank you for everything.
Thank you,
I appreciate each one of you.
Commissioner Powell, followed by Commissioner Spiz.
I did get here a little late, but you probably addressed this, but I just wanted to ask, can you walk us through, the vacant positions that are currently funding, why they are still needed, and what is the impact what the impact would be if the board removed some of those vacant positions from your budget and asked parks to come back during the year when you need them?
I think all of them are part-time because we've maxed out our full-time. And a lot of them are seasonal positions. So, we appreciate the flexibility depending on service needs. One of the challenges we often run into is there's a 1,000-hour cap on those part-time positions. So sometimes we have a great staffer, but they max out or get close to it, and we have to then open the position back up again. I guess that'd be my plea, is leave us the flexibility with the seasonal staffing so that we can, be nimble as the situation requires.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 questions. Page 384, transfer to municipalities at roughly $1 million a year for the next 3. What does that entail?
So that is our community grant program that is payable through a 3-year reimbursement, and our strategic partnership grants. So I think typically we give them payment up front, and then when the project finishes, then we pay out the final amount. So there's always, it's like the tri-party fund. There's always a little bit of lag time between when they're approved and when they're paid out.
All right, and my final question for the day, and it might be more for fiscal services, page 385, budgeted equity adjustments.
I think I can handle that. So
16 million each year.
So what that is how, that's the terminology used for putting the money in our savings account for our, capital reserve. Yeah, so of course, all budgets need to be self-balancing, right? So the reserve, the surplus goes into the reserve for capital.
Commissioner Erickson-Dahl.
So you touched on this sort of, we have a whole lot of acquisitions. We've had some acquisitions, we have some coming up. And I think we talked about this a little bit in Parks Commission as well. How are we going to make sure that the revenues coming in for the millage are going to allow us to sustain all of what we have versus, 'cause I know we have other things projected to come up, but I think it's important that we have a plan for how to pay for everything that we're currently have.
I guess I would
Deferred maintenance on.
I would only maybe add to that not in every case is it an automatic continuation. It is about some of the things that Esther talked about, having better measurement data to show you the use, the utility of everything. Just because something was built in 1980 doesn't necessarily mean it's still serving a current need. And so in some cases, it may be a case to retire some assets. And so it's a broader conversation. The key thing we need to overcome right now is to get through this creative issue of what are we going to build in these handful of parks that need a large capital surge. Then we can work, as I said, we have owner's rep that we can really firm up what those costs would be, put it on a construction schedule, look at the financing picture, quantify the operating costs. This life cycle cost issue is something we need to tackle so that we can account for, not just when we're adding facilities, but as I said, sometimes it's a maintenance decision that we are going to, start, intervening with natural features in some way, and that has to be sustained forever. So those things need to surface to the commission, and we haven't had that, that kind of infrastructure to make those decisions in the past. We're working on it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I just have a couple of quick questions. You mentioned event centers. I'm assuming those are like the banquet centers that are at the golf courses and so on. Do you have a strategy for really activating those more, or?
We are doing better than we were. It is not where I would love it to be. This is one of those ongoing quandaries that I wish I had a magic bullet solution. I will say in my first few years in this position, they were vacant often, and it doesn't look great for us. So, went out and sought to see if I could find somebody who would like to lease it from us. We talked to the, what was it? It was not disc golf. It's one of those virtual golf places to see if we could get them interest. So, we've talked to commercial real estate agents about interest in it. The model before of picking a single contractor to be the caterer did not work out well for us financially. So now we have adapted so that it's a at your own risk for the renter scenario, where we rent the facility out, they hire their own caterer, and financially it's better than it was. But they are not utilized near as much as I'd like to see them. One of Aaron's tasks is we have these commercial kitchens that sit vacant, and if we can use those for incubator businesses, what do they call that? Cottage industries. When you start producing a homemade good at a certain level, you have to do it in the commercial kitchen. So, and that should tie into the farmer's market, all into this network. So, if you've got a great genius idea on how to repurpose one of them, I don't know that we would build them now, but we have them now, and so we're just trying to make the best of the situation.
Okay. The other comment I have is I'm very happy to see that we're doing more field trips, and because there has been a stretch in here with the way funding for education has been reduced over the years, that those are cut in the school districts for years and years and years. And my question relates to how are we interconnecting with the school districts to make sure all of the school districts have access to our parks, and are we providing the transportation for that stuff?
We are not at this point providing the transportation. And school districts are a unique challenge to break into, and build that communication. We've been doing it as we can. Obviously, we've started with a strong relationship with Bloomfield Hill School District. We've started some conversations with Waterford Schools. We'll take it one by one. If you've got, any of the commissioners have a person that you recommend, we're happy. I got a partnership chief here. He's so charming, as Marcia mentioned. We'll have school field trips in a week, right?
Okay.
It's one of those oddities that recreation sort of has been in this lane where it's municipal in the county, but not school recreation in the past. So breaking open those doors and starting those conversations is sort of starting from scratch. But we're making some progress.
Well, good.
Ashley's going to get it done.
Getting it done.
Getting it done. Okay.
Well, I had my wedding reception at White Lake Oaks.
Okay.
And I went to day camp out of Pontiac schools at Hawthorne Park. So now I'm 100 years old. I'm older than all you guys. But that's the way it used to be. And more of that we can integrate back into what we do with this big millage and these parks, I'm in support of. So I think that's all the questions I have. The other commissioners got the ones that
And we'll say in our 60th year, it's important we note that it all started with Gwen's dad.
My dad.
Yeah, he carried the water to get the millage put on the ballot to build the Parks Commission. None of this wouldn't have happened without our first county executive.
I think that's why I had my wedding reception at White Lake. It wasn't too long after the parks had started up. So anyway, well, thank you for coming in, Parks. You're always really interesting. We're very proud of you. You had a great interview on TV with Mayor McGinnis a couple of weeks ago. I watched it twice. It was such a good interview. It really was. You really highlighted Pontiac and Oakland County Parks. It was a great interview for all
I'm going
of
on
us.
vacation for the next year.
No, you
We
can't.
got it covered.
So thank you all for coming in.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you all.
Jim.
They hired you.
Uh-huh. 2-minute recess, everybody. All right. There we go. Okay, we are back to our second budget hearing of the afternoon. And it is our Human Resources Department. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Sunil. How do I say it? Your last name?
Asija.
Asija.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. She took off my starting point. Hello, Sunil Sija. I am your HR director. I want to thank everybody first and foremost. We have made a lot of changes through HR, and even to my team, they told me to slow down, which is very hard for me to do. But I'm slowing down, and I'm doing it. But I just want to thank everybody for really all the support that you provided for HR. I also want, Chris left, but I also want to thank Chris. This beautiful tan that you have on my face is from the White Oaks. I utilize White Oaks quite a bit, and I use their golf course quite often. So thank you, Chris, who's not here. If you don't see, make sure you tell him. With that, I really want to tell you, I kind of highlighted a little bit today. I'm going to try my best to stay at the podium. I wander sometimes, but I'm going to try my best. Like I said, HR has done a lot of changes through the years, and that's really what I wanted. I think I'm going to pick.
If you want to wander, we'll hand you the.
No, that's all right. I'll do something. I'll learn.
Okay.
I'm going to pick on Commissioner Powell a little bit. She told me when I first got appointed, what is change management and how you going to do it? And hopefully 3 years later, your question is answered, right? So really, I really worked hard on my team to really develop HR, change it 360, really be more collaborative, more supportive, and working with different groups, working with departments. Again, another plug for Chris Ward. He mentioned HR and recruiting. We're focusing on that. We're going to talk deeper on our conversation today, but I want to make sure I highlight that quite a bit. Another quick story I wanted to tell you, and then we'll get into it, is when I first got hired, somebody asked me a question: what training am I going to provide to change culture? And I had to think about that question. I said, I can't train anybody to change culture. It starts here, and it goes to here. And we start our house, we fix our house, and then we spread the wealth. That's really what I want to focus on. And we'll get a little deeper in that, but what I would like to do really, I want to take all the credit for changing HR, but I can't. So I have this wonderful team that I'm going to have come up, introduce themselves really quick. So they're going to tell you their name, what department they manage, and one good thing about me. No, that's not, I added that part. So with that, I'm going to start over on the end over here with my first guest and my partner in crime.
Hi, I'm Heather Van Pooker. I'm the Deputy Director in HR, and the areas that I focus on are those that Heather Mason manages, which is comp, benefits, and retirement. And then Tim is over the HRBP, which is Human Resources Business Partner team. And then Dan is over our Employee and Labor Relations group. So that's where I focus my energy. But Sunil and I really manage in a partnership, because one of the primary goals and areas of focus has been on collaboration across the HR units, rather than trying to deliver HR services by the area of specialization. We're really trying to approach it in a more integrated model, and that's where HRBPs and that kind of fundamental shift in the way we deploy HR services has made such a difference in the past few years. So that's me and what I do. Heather, number 2. I don't know how we want to do it.
Heather Mason, I'm the manager of compensation, benefits, and retirement for all active and retiree employees.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Klempner. I'm our Chief of Labor and Employee Relations. I handle most, if not all, of our union negotiations, internal complaints, and I manage a team of 5. Very nice to see everyone again.
Good afternoon. I'm Tim Martin. I'm our manager of HRBP team. Been at the county for the last 3 years, so we are probably the newest unit within HR, but we've expanded over the last 3 years to now support over 13 departments. So we're really excited about the support we provide our leaders and our employees. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melva Allen, HR Manager over Learning and Engagement, and we have a lot of programs that we actually offer, which I'll tell you a little bit about later. But we offer training, we do employee engagement, and we also do work-based learning.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Craig Morris. I'm the newbie to the team. I joined the county in March. I'm the manager for talent acquisition and records. I manage a team of 11 folks, and we are working to transform how we do our hiring practices and how we retain our documents and keep the county moving forward. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank my team for everything that they've done. I wanted to introduce them really to see who they really are. They are the backbone. They pretty much do everything. I'm just here for looks. That might not win, but I try. With that, moving forward, let's kind of get into the help of what we're here to talk about is a little bit of budget. I'm going to bring up Heather again to talk a little bit about the budget, but I got to flip this. So we're going to really talk about department budget and actuals, really what we've done, and there's a lot of detail on it. I'll let you read it. I am not going to read these things. It was kindly provided by Fiscal. They did a great job on providing it. Really what I want to highlight on some of the slides, and we'll continue going through as it is, it's really about the change a little bit, and actuals are, we implemented a lot of systems. Workday is one of the big ones. You met Craig, who really brought in recruitment, and I really want to highlight that we flipped from iCIMS to Workday recruitment within 3 months. That does not happen often, and I know there's people in here that are familiar with systems and IT. We flipped it in 3 months to make sure that we could really start the ball rolling really quick, and our contract was done with iCIMS, so we really wanted to focus on that. We implemented again, I highlighted the Workday recruitment. We also, job description we also focused on, which was really going to help us streamline process. My goal is really to streamline as much as we can, and less of the paperwork, less of the systems that we have to deal with. Let the system do the work for us. And then staffing, we also included that. We are very lean as an HR function. Believe it or not, we are running on 48 people that's running a county of 5,000, which is a common thing. And I know we have some HR folks in here as well, and I'll pick on Commissioner Taylor. She knows that that's very lean. We did request a couple of positions to come through, which we'll talk about. We are now bumped up to 51 per se that we're going to fit in. Again, we're trying to streamline. I hate to say it because I hate it when I was growing up, do more with less. That's what we're truly doing. I didn't understand it till now, till I'm starting to run the show. Oh, that's what that means, more with less? Now I got to work. Anyway, so highlighting that, that's what we really wanted to talk about on that. So Heather, I'm going to have you come up and kind of talk a little bit about the next one.
Sure.
If you don't
Thanks.
mind.
Yeah. So the next slide is just, detailed dive into what we're looking at, expenditures within the HR department. This is not the fringe fund. So this is the HR piece that does not include our cost of benefits and those related items. But that shows where our expenditures have evolved through the years and really reflects a major investment. The internal services piece is where you'll see a lot of where our IT investment, for example, has been housed. As Sunil mentioned, we've invested heavily on modernizing our processes. A lot of that came through investment in our systems and software, and we're really bearing the fruit of that now, where we're able to kind of hold steady on staffing. Where our staffing requests came across is just a monumental evolution in how the workforce here at Oakland County has changed through the years and becoming more represented by different bargaining units, and we've grown from somewhere in about a quarter of our workforce being covered by a collective bargaining unit to today we're nearing 85%. So the vast majority of our workforce is now covered by a collective bargaining contract, which adds to some needs around our employee and labor relations team and the work that they're doing. This is kind of a crazy looking graph, and it's I'll take responsibility for it because historically, we have shown a group of employees, around 30, 32, this year it's listed as 32, of positions that are really not HR positions. These are positions that HR deploys across the organization to support various needs. So these would be like our clerical pool, our internship program, our diverse abilities program. So various positions that are not HR related or in support of HR functions or operations, but that HR kind of coordinates the programs to deploy those out to departments. And so having it been historically shown as, HR personnel really didn't give a great picture of what it takes to deliver HR services here at the county. So we were able to successfully work with the fiscal team, and thank you so much for making this change for us to really kind of break those two out. And we're now calling those positions that are deployed to departments career access programs, so that we can better focus in on what HR administration and our workforce management needs are. And so that's what's reflected in this huge nosedive. It's not that we're eliminating the HR positions, it's that we're breaking these out into two distinct programs so that it's more transparent for you to see what it takes to run the HR function. Because Sunil did mention we are lean, we're proud of that. We think really hard about what our needs are going to be, and we try to slow play. He does go fast, but what we try to slow play is when we incorporate a new software or system or process improvement or change, we try to really implement that and take the time to feel that impact and ascertain what our needs are going to be longer term. Because what we don't want to do is have a vacancy and rush to fill it without stopping to think, how can technology differently or better support us? How can process improvements impact the way that we do business? Is there opportunity here? We expect a lot of our staff, and they deliver, and they function beautifully with the lean staff that we have, and we've held steady for several years. But now, like I said, with this change, especially in the demands for employee and labor relations support, we do have the need to ask for some additional support and investment in staffing around that function. So that's the crazy dip in this personnel slide. The Fringe Fund is where we flow all of the expenditures and revenues associated with supporting our benefit programs. The revenues are generated based on formulary and formulas and calculations that are done through fiscal to, gain back the costs, the direct costs of the benefits that we're providing across different departments. So you'll see that we had a bit of a jump from 24 to 25. A lot of that had to do with 24 was, I would say, maybe held a little on the low end. We transitioned to Blue Cross Blue Shield, the All Blues platform. We did have some initial first year implementation support that came from making that change. So our costs, I would say, were maybe held a little bit low in that year. And now we're seeing that more realistically in 2025 is kind of where figures would be. And I am proud of the relatively flat actual line there, because that when it comes to the benefits piece of the world, that really is the goal, right, is to flatten that line. There is no world in which we can expect that the cost of our benefits are not going to increase. That is simply not the case. The cost of healthcare is a challenge across the board, across industries, and certainly here for the county. But what we do is, through a real careful, strategic 5-year benefit strategy, we have year over year changes, tweaks, and improvements in the way that we're administering our benefit programs to hopefully, across these years, hold that line as steady and as flat as we can. Again, we know that we're going to see increases, but what we don't want to see are 10, 15, 20% increases. A lot of folks are seeing those when they come up for their healthcare renewals, for example. So a flat line is a good line in the budget world when it comes to benefits. Again, these revenues are calculated using that chargeback rate. These expenditures, you see a little steeper line here, and that is the jump between 24 and 25, making some corrections for that first year implementation that we saw held a little lower than what would be the norm. 25, again, you can see it jumped up a bit. But as we continue to implement the strategies and techniques of our 5-year benefit plan, for example, in this year, we had a significant increase in the per pay period contribution that employees are making across the board. We're seeing some changes in our benefit plan design that will be forthcoming. For example, in 2027, we have a 5-tier prescription plan to implement. So we've got, through that 5-year plan, a staged and hopefully not too shocking, but a manageable kind of change path forward for how we're managing our benefit spend to hopefully keep that flat. Again, a little more detail about the operating expenditures and the detail there. It's really around the actual cost of the healthcare that we're experiencing. Personnel here, we hold steady across the years. We've been in the mid-20s level, and we see it hanging steady there for the personnel side of the fringe fund. No grants, so a big circle for your enjoyment. And then the strategic planning piece, I guess, Sunil, would you like to wrap us up?
Yeah, so again, I'm glad we had limited time because we could talk about HR all day, and I don't want to do that to everybody. What we did do, and we'll leave it, you should have got it in your mailboxes, but we also provided our annual report. I will leave it here after so you guys can take it and read. It really details exactly what we have done and what we're trying to do and continue doing. A lot of it is we'll really focus on ECHO survey. I'm sure everybody has taken that. We really did a good job this year, and again, numbers will be coming out soon if they have not. My goal has always been and I know you guys heard it from me so many times, I want to be employer of choice. We're not number 1 yet, but we did break top 10, and I'm very proud of that part of it. So we're really working on that. And as Heather said, part of the above, okay, I'll leave it. Our strategic planning and our goals really fits exactly what I've been trying to do for the past 4 years. I want to be collaborative. I want to be a partner. It's just not what I say or what HR says. I want to make sure that we're here for your support and how we can accommodate. Granted, we do have to follow policy. We do have to follow rules, but we're here to support the people out there. Resources also intentionally advancing DEI. That's a major priority of mine, and I know I've talked to many commissioners about that, is that's what we really focus on. We want to be the community. We want people to come here. I've heard, and I'll be honest with you, and I didn't want to bring it up, but I've heard outside they're afraid to come in sometimes. And I'm speaking of my heritage and other heritages out there. So I'm trying to break the ice on that and say, hey, it's a great place to come here. I would not have moved to Wisconsin here if I didn't know this. And I know this now, and now I'm very proud of where I am at. I'm not a Michigander yet. I'm still a Wisconsinite, but I'll always be there. I didn't say Badgers yet. That's coming. Also, I wanted to be consistently drivers of excellence in customer service. I wanted quick turnaround. I wanted to make sure we provided those answers really quick instead of passing the buck. My team has done a great job on that. We developed a customer service team for that, and then really modern and competitive program systems and processes. I want to be modern. I want to be upfront. I'll try it. If it doesn't work, we'll move on. I've heard those issues. I think my leadership has said, you know what, give it a try. What can you do wrong? They weren't all perfect, don't get me wrong, but they're coming through, and that's another thing that I wanted to do, is I wanted to make sure that we're meeting those goals. I want to be, and I heard it from my leadership as well, is I want to be competitive with those private agencies in there. I came from private, and I want to make us as competitive and coming here. So with that, I want to add a little bit more. I'm going to bring up Melva because we're going to think about the future, right? How we're going to support the future of our employees here. And that's bringing up talent. So I'm going to bring Melva up here. She can talk a little bit about what I asked her to talk about.
So really quick, because I probably can talk about this all day, but since Heather brought up the career access positions, I did just want to add a little bit of context to that, because we actually do quite a bit for the employees of the county, but we're also thinking about our future workforce, right? So we're thinking about those who are eligible for retirement. We're looking at labor market information and how we can grow that talent pipeline and expose people to county government, and just how great and competitive it is with the private sector as well. So I do want to also just shout out to our department for being acknowledged. We received 3 now recognitions from the NACO, National Association of Counties, for our leadership programs, for our engagement program with the Employee Engagement Champion Networks, and also for our career coach. And that's part of our work-based learning too, as we're working with employees as they're through the life cycle of their time here at the county. We have a career coach, Jeff Granite, who's been super popular, and employees are taking advantage of that resource. We have our Diverse Abilities program, which has been in place now for several years, where we work with community partners, and we place those with disabilities in various departments for part-time opportunities. And now we are very proud to say that we are creating an internship program where we are moving the existing internship programs under HR, where we're able to provide more stabilization, also work more closely with our colleges and universities. When we recruit, we partner with TA, our TA unit as well, and we will be providing orientations, tours. All the interns will be a part of a cohort where they will be exposed to most of the departments here at the county. And it'll just be a more structured process, and that's going to start in October. So those positions under Career Access are not new positions, but they're moving from other departments to be under HR so that we can provide an more excellent service as we expose, again, the county to those who are looking for their next career, which we hope to be at Oakland County. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melva, and I think that's where we're at. I could talk more, but I'll hold off.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Excuse me. I will start with Commissioner Powell.
So I just wanted to say thank you, Sunil, for always taking my call. And I do remember that conversation when you first got here, and I do see the transformation. I do see the programs. I do see everything that's going on. So thank you for that. And another shout out I will say, because she's been my go-to for a very long time and has been so honest and just educating me and processing everything with HR, my girl Melva. Thank you very much. She's always been that ear just to kind of keep me informed as well as just the changes and understanding things. And then I know the DEI and the cultural perspective, y'all know I've always been concerned about that as far as our overall diversity count. But I thank you all in the transparency in that process. And it's not like it's falling on deaf ears, it's just us trying to diversify as much as we can future, and I see the effort. So thank you all, thank you team, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Sunil. Good to see you. Rarely I do, because I don't serve on the committee that most of you seem to report to, so it's really nice to see your faces. Let's see. So the budget continues investment in Workday and other HR systems. What problems are those tools helping solve? And how will commissioners know if they're working?
That's a great question. And
I thought of it myself.
I know. I'm going to laugh internally. I'm not going to laugh out loud. But with the support of Fiscal and really Brian and Cheryl, really, we realized that Workday, there's a lot of money spent on that. So with the task of Cheryl's help as well, as we're building a governance together to make sure. I really thought, and I've seen it, we were very separated in Workday, and now I'm trying to bring it back together. We're all one group. So we're building a governance, a meeting session to make sure that everybody's getting equal opportunity to grow their specific business. Cheryl has also been involved in that as well, but I really wanted to bring this governance together to really get everybody involved, and that's including IT, that's procurement, we have fiscal, we have HR, and now we have Treasury that we got involved. So we're all meeting almost weekly to get this thing figured out. To answer your question about how is it working, if you don't hear any complaints, it's working. Right now it's a little rusty, I'll be honest with you, but we're just getting through this cadence. And once we get that direct line, I'm trying to keep Brian and April and Rod involved in helping them give them updates and going from there. So when we start hearing complaints, it's not working, but it's starting to kind of settle in a little bit. So I really feel comfortable that once that governance is set and ready to go, we'll be in a good spot. We're spending that money, let's utilize it.
Yeah. What's a Workday competitor? Just curious.
There's many. There's SAP. There's other groups out there, and it's just Workday has just been the best for us. I want to be one group. Yeah. I want to be one system. Before in the old days, I hate to say old days, but they were all different groups, right?
It does feel like everything is built on Workday as a platform,
yes.
Which is pretty standard.
Yeah.
But just in terms of, is it working? I mean, I do like the OCTA, the OCTA, which is probably more IT than you guys, but basically the little permission so I don't have to find 17 different passwords to
yes.
to review things. But overall, I like what I see here. I know somewhere in Washington, D.C., at some house that's white, that they don't like DEI, but
Yep.
I mean, I see diversity and inclusion and whatever that third letter is.
Equity.
Here, and that means you guys will see that in our workforce. So really appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you,
Uh-oh.
Commissioner.
I thought you had the last question. I swear I heard it back there.
Last question for that group.
Oh, sorry.
No, we'll take on Commissioner Spiz right now.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question on the last slide in your presentation, the 5-year goals, which I think are awesome. The question is, how are you going to measure your achievement to those goals?
That's where Henry comes in. Where's Henry? How are we going to measure those, buddy? I know. No, we got it. I was just joking.
Do you mean how we're going to measure each of these goals?
How do you know that you've met? Are you successful at reaching that goal?
So within each of those goals, each functional unit has specific initiatives and projects that they can point to one of these goals and say this is what's supporting. So for example, modern competitive program systems and process. So for example, under Craig's leadership in talent acquisition, we identified a challenge with how cumbersome our application process can be. So I'll just give you an example. So we flipped from requiring transcripts at the point of application to post-offer pre-hire. So we're still validating credentials, but we're just doing it later in the process to make sure that that's not eliminating the number of people that could apply. So the metrics would be, how many people are applying for an open position? How quickly are we turning around applications? How quickly are we getting a narrow list of applicants to a department to interview? How quickly post-interview are we able to extend an offer? After the point of offer, how quickly are we engaging in onboarding? So, and especially through Workday, thank you for the Workday question, having that platform allows us to hone in and begin to hit some of those measures so that we know what success looks like and we can measure the improvement. And the Workday one, like on the benefits side, I'll give you another example. We just launched in the last year the ability for an individual employee to go look, and if you haven't, please do, to go look at your total reward statement where you can see not just what your salary is, but the total value of the benefit package that the county provides. We've had almost 3,000 individuals go and look at their total reward statement, which to me is amazing because educating employees not just about what they take home in the form of a salary or a wage, but really that total compensation package is a game changer. So we can track like how many hits. So we're trying to, wherever we have that access to data, really track it and measure progress and results.
All right, so to sum all that up, because I appreciate the detail,
Yeah.
is you have subcategories for each one of these goals
Yes.
that you're measuring through a different way, either using Workday, through individual performance reviews, et cetera, that you can go ahead back and measure that and confirm if you met this goal or not. Awesome.
Just to add quickly, I know Heather mentioned it, but that's why we flipped Workday recruiting so quick, because we wanted that data. Because the old system, you had to manually pick it. This would go right in so we can pull that data right away. That was another reason we flipped.
I can appreciate that. I use SAP at work, so I can understand it.
Okay, Commissioner Erickson followed by Commissioner Gershenson.
Yes, wonderful, thank you. I really do appreciate and all the work that you're doing to minimize our costs, especially in the benefits. I know it's hard to do because so much of that is beyond our control, but I think I really appreciate a lot of the innovative strategies that you've brought to us. I do have the privilege of sitting on the LAGO committee and get to see a lot of the work you're doing all the time, so thank you. Kind of a off-the-wall question. A lot in the private sector, a lot of employers, when they think about the future, and this is what you were talking about, our future workforce, and this was brought this question to my mind. They're thinking AI. They're thinking, how can we replace, carbon-based units with a computer? And I know that's not necessarily the strategy of Oakland County, but is that at any part of our consideration, AI as opposed to actual humans doing the work versus, and then another question is, how can we as a county benefit from all of these private industries who are perhaps foolishly eliminating headcount in favor of, prematurely in favor of AI?
Yeah, I've done quite a bit in AI, and I'll let my team if they want to bring it up. But I really think right now AI, to me, is more supportive in the HR realm, that they can help support us. I don't think we're at a point where we could eliminate somebody to hire that personal interaction. A lot of the people, which we just had, and Craig might have to add a little bit, but we pulled, I think, the executive secretary, or admin, we pulled her off of her current job that she was doing. She didn't even apply for that role, and that was because of the human part of it. What I would think AI would be doing, and again, I'm not a pro at it, but I think it's more of a supportive role. It's still new to me, and it's still new to the world right now, and everybody's jumping on it. But that's what my consideration is let's use it and let's be supportive. I don't want to eliminate anybody's position, because I think most part of HR is that it's that interaction with somebody. You're talking to somebody and you're getting to know them. Are they the right fit? Are they not the right fit? So at this point, that's where I'm at. I can't read the future. I don't know what it's going to do. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I'm thinking right now, for me, it is more of a supportive role. Unless anybody else wants to add.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you're not. I think a lot of the private industry is getting on board way too soon.
Yep.
And way too arbitrarily. They're just jumping in without really testing the waters. And I appreciate hearing that we're being more thoughtful about how AI helps us.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Commissioner, you had another question? I was so happy on the first one.
Can we benefit? I mean, my husband works at GM, and every 6 months we hear about small or large reduction in force. And I wonder, are we benefiting from all of these private industries who, in my mind, are prematurely cutting headcount?
Yeah, I think we are, and when they see it, and I think it's going to be a little bit of stability. I think what they're hearing now is they're seeing that government is stable, and they feel like they can come in, and whether the generation is who's coming in, they feel like they have a job. My generation growing up was I stayed with a company for 20 years. I learned very quickly that that's not the case. When they were done with me, they were done with me. So I want to make people feel comfortable, and I want them to grow, and how we do that within Oakland County is what we're trying to do, is helping have those paths to go somewhere different so we can retain those people. We talk about what Melva said. We bring them in as intern. We've hired multiple interns to come into Oakland County. We also have partnerships with colleges out there that we're trying to bring in. The other thing is our Leadership Academy. I wanted to bring that in for sure to help our leaders grow. And if they don't stay with us, totally fine, but they can take that leadership and they can take it somewhere else. So yes, to answer your question, we are benefiting.
Commissioner Gershenson.
Yeah, I really appreciate your flexibility as a team. You made a presentation last week and you talked about this new high deductible option, which I thought was so fascinating. And that shows that you're really following what the trends are, and we're not stuck where we used to be. And also, there was a time in budget hearings when all you would hear about were complaints about the application process. Mm-hmm. We don't hear that anymore. That's a tangible change. I don't know if you remember, but we had so many residents that would contact us and say, I applied, I'm overqualified, I got rejected in a day, and we're not hearing that anymore. So I really do appreciate the changes that you made, and we see them.
Thank you. No, I remember hearing that clearly. I didn't forget that, so I do remember that. Appreciate that. Thanks, Commissioner.
Commissioner Spiz again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to touch on the AI question, if you remember, there was an article by Ford recently that they actually hired people back that they replaced by AI because of personal interaction. So I think a lot of the industry some of the industry, not a lot, may have jumped in too soon, but they're starting to peel back a little bit because still not a lot of trust in AI in general. So they're still okay. But now I do have some budget questions.
Okay.
So this is a relatively simple one, though, I think. Page 239, 240, 2027, 28, 29, the numbers are different. So, for example, on 239, just for overtime in general, 27 says 7,000, 28 says 17, 29 says 17, and 26 says 17. So I don't know if that's similar to what we saw in parks, or maybe that's going to be adjusted in an amendment later. Page 239.
Of the big book?
Yeah, in the big book,
Okay.
sorry. Page 239, holiday overtime, actually not overtime,
I
it's overtime
can
in general.
I can answer that for them. What that is they are anticipating some savings within their overtime by moving to some of these workday enhancements. So there is a one-time use of that overtime budget that they're taking out. We did advise them that doing this as a permanent change to their budget may not be the best result of this. So we only took it out within 27, and then in 28 and 29, that's on our list to revisit with them as to if that overtime is actually going to be corrected for, and we'll be able to move that money again. We didn't want to get ahead of ourselves on that.
Okay, so
The
that's for
other-
both of them, because it's on page 244 also, same thing.
The other special thing that happens in 2027 is we don't have a lot of labor contracts open. And so what you see in this particular unit is a surge in overtime around modifications for general salary increase and big changes because of labor contracts.
I think that's a great lead into my second question.
Okay.
Because legal services does the same thing. 27 is
Yep.
at 75 grand.
That's it.
28, 29, it doubles to 150 for those 2 years. And we haven't seen that level in any year prior, so that's kind of a double-edged question. Is it
So
same
that's,
topic?
that's where we have a lot of contracts open all at once, and we're finding ourselves in the position where, when you negotiate labor contracts, sometimes it's tweaks and tweaks year over year over year, and every now and then it makes sense to, really look at it from the ground up and do a total total revamp of a contract. And so we're doing that right now with the sheriff's deputies, and we would expect in 28 that we're really going to want to revamp other contracts kind of from the ground up instead of just Frankenstein them. So it's a one-time investment.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Taylor.
Oh, thank you. This is my favorite department, just so y'all know. It's really hard for me to question you because I love everything you're doing. I really, really do. And I mean, everybody's so easy to speak with. I've worked with Marva, I'm sorry, Miss Allen, being respectful. She's so easy to talk to and will just listen and then give you honest direction, which I really love. So if you're thinking about a job or something, even in another department, if you have questions, she can answer those, like as far as education, direction, that kind of stuff. But what I'm seeing and hearing is that you listen and then act and give useful direction. Not just Ms. Allen, but the whole department. I really enjoy that, working with each one of you. There's a couple of questions. I noticed that your FOIA fees and stuff are going away. So could you tell me where that's going?
FOIA fees?
Yeah. Do you charge for FOIA anymore or no?
Do we charge them? Yeah, I don't know why they're,
Then
maybe that
the
would be a
question should
fiscal.
Where are the
Yeah, no,
FOIA
that's-
fees being charged?
So FOIA fees, that's money that can come back as part of when we charge for FOIAs. That's not something that we budget for specifically because it is very rare. I should say it can be rare that this occurs. You'll see, for instance, on under the human resources budget in general in FY 2025, there's a total of $65 for FOIA. And you'll see that we didn't budget for that because if you look at the year prior in 24, there was zero. So it's really situational and the dollar amount is immaterial.
Okay, I was thinking, well, maybe it's handled in various departments like retirement. Sometimes they have questions. Maybe the clerk handles the FOIA for you guys. I don't know. That's just it's working in HR. We did it all. So, okay. There is another budget question that I had here. The budget adds like the new employee for the labor relations. You have a specialist now, or you have a position there. And because of the unionized workforce that is growing, that's why I believe the position was called for. Can you explain what work is increasing and how this position will help resolve issues earlier and build trust with employees and unions rather than simply adding another layer between them and the county?
Yeah, I can speak to that. And I'm not really quite sure which way to face and maybe answer the question.
You're
I guess
good.
I'll answer it this way. So this adds more of a clerical, administrative, professional role. So with the rise of our collective bargaining workforce, as you heard Heather mention, Heather Van Pooker mentioned, I know there's two of them, mentioned, we've increased our unionized workforce to 85% of our total workforce. Just the UAW alone, its ranks has swelled all the way up to approximately 1,600 members. And so with that, it's not as though we're removing all the other due process protections that we already have in existence for our employees, such as Loudermills or other merit rule interpretations. This adds another layer of protection to that. So for example, the grievance process. We get multiple grievance requests a day. They're not all resultant in change, but we get asked about it a lot, as well as employee complaints. And so with those increases of union representation, well, there are more people coming forward, and it's, I would consider that individual to be more of a centralized location for both labor relations and the HRBPs. They're going to be servicing both. That will allow us to maintain a more organized, and as you heard Sunil say, streamlined point of contact, so that items get logged in our system, tracked in our system, and resolved at a quicker and easier pace. Does that make sense?
Yep, it makes sense.
All right, thank you.
And HR is the department where most people go for succession planning. And again, that's one of the things I really would like to ask is, what are your plans for, first of all, have you identified the key roles for HR, the top positions that you can't function without? And then what succession planning do you have in place?
Yeah, and I'll let Heather come as well. But yeah, we have, especially in HR, we've kind of identified that. And we've done succession planning really from the beginning since I got here. Really, it started with their IDPs, individual performance plans, and like, what do people want to do? And what I really tried to encourage, if you're happy what you're doing, that's great, but help you grow a little bit in your position. But also, if you want to take my job, I ask that every day. Who wants my job? And I don't hear many replies back. But I do hear it a lot. But we do look at those. Our goal now is, once we get our job descriptions software really up and running, we're going to start really dig deeper. And you're right, they do come to us quite a bit how we're doing it. And that's, I'm going to add a little bit too, that's where the HRBPs come involved, because they're really in the field and they're helping departments look at those things, seeing where they need to be. We do have an influx of retirement coming up in the future, and we want to make sure that we're prepared for that as well. So to answer your question, yes, we're really thinking about that. I'm really thinking about the future. I'll highlight it again before we're done, is that I still want to be employer of choice. I want people to fight coming here and pushing them away, because there's so many people that are trying to come here. So
wonderful.
That's my goal.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
And lastly, I don't know how many contracts, but I do know that you deal with contracts in different departments of your department.
Yes, yes.
Like benefits and all those kinds of things. And hopefully, we're just asking, we being the board, is just asking that you stay on top of those contracts. What's your plans? How do you keep those in place and on time, so that you don't run into the situation where it could happen, but
Yep.
the contract is up in 10 days or 30 days, something like that should not happen, but it can.
Okay.
And then what, if anything, that we as the commissioners could do to help you in that area?
Yeah, the good thing for us is we do talk a lot. We're very open with each other, and we do talk quite a bit as a staff. We're always talking, like I said, Heather and I are always talking. We're hearing what's going on. Hey, my contract is up. What do you think of this? So we do talk really about it. Again, I'll highlight a little bit of the Workday recruiting. That's another reason we flipped to that, is because we heard, you know what, that's just not, the old one isn't the right fit. Let's talk as an executive team and see what we need to do. For support, really, you guys have been phenomenal. You guys are just supporting HR. I can't really ask for more. I just continue asking. So if that helps, I will continue doing that. That's the support I need. And as Commissioner Powell really I get nervous when I get her phone call. But when I do talk to you, but in a good way, I was going to caveat that by saying it's always been pleasant. So it's never been bad. So I did add that. But one thing that it's always, I love to hear those things that the communities are hearing, because I want to hear that as well. We're not perfect, and I want to get better. And when I hear those things, that's what I ask for.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
If there are no other questions, I will say thank you for coming in to the department, and we really have enjoyed your conversation, and all the improvements that have been made, so thanks very much.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate it again. Thank you.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay, we are moving into our third budget review for the day. Thank you. And the group before us now is the Water Resources Commissioner and his team. So, Commissioner Nash, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Well, howdy, folks. Good to see everybody again. We're here to talk about the budget, what we've been doing, answer any questions you have about whatever we presented here. I'm going to introduce Steve Korth is my Chief Deputy. Brian Coburn is my I'm sorry, not my Chief Deputy. She's my Chief Deputy. My Chief Manager. Brian Coburn is manager over all these things, budget operations. Ann Vara is my Chief Deputy. JT Schutz is our Chief Financial Officer, and Holly Conforti does our budget with us for quite some time now. So I'm going to talk about a few things that we're doing right now in the recent past and what we're planning on the future here. We are doing lead line service replacements. A very important thing. Our biggest city with lead lines is Pontiac. We've done 1,200 new drinking water service lines being installed to replace old lead lines or steel that's been attached to lead. 19 miles of water main have been replaced, and we've used $32 million in grants to do all these things. Every time we're doing grants, that's less that we have to impact the ratepayers. We're trying to do that as much as we can, especially for our economically disadvantaged communities. Also, Royal Oak Township, we've been putting in water lines. We've been getting grants for that, both from congressional directed spending and from the state. Very important issue for this community. It's a very old, small community that has had significant problems with water main breaks for years. By doing this, we're allowing them to repair that, again, without hitting not nearly as much on their rates. And whenever you have a water main break that you're replacing, that's a cost to the ratepayers that just has to be done. So by replacing these, we're going to be eliminating these water main break repairs for some time for these communities. And they'll be able to recover from that. And this is that important thing, especially for communities that have been economically disadvantaged. Rain Smart rebates. Some of you we've been talking to this about for some time. For folks who's not familiar with this, the Rain Smart rebates are rebates up to homeowners up to $2,000 for putting green infrastructure on their property. Green infrastructure allows that property to absorb water instead of going to the nearest rain a storm drain immediately, and that saves money for whatever community is doing for their systems, and it slows pollution. Big part of what we do when we're doing this is stopping pollution. So we did this through the George W. Kuhn Retention Treatment Basin Fund as a pilot program as proof of concept. EPA had suggested that we could maybe get a grant for this kind of thing if we showed proof of concept. We had hoped to get 150, 200 people to sign up for it the first year. We had 500 people sign up for the first year. We distributed all that funding in about $250,000 in 2 years, and now we're reducing what goes into the storm drains by about 1.4 million gallons a year, just by putting rain gardens, rain barrels, or planting trees on residential properties. Very, very popular program that has been a huge success. We want to expand it, and this year we got a grant from the EPA to do that. This is through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, $745,000. This expands it to 10 more communities. So 24 communities altogether, from Rochester Hills to Farmington Hills. Those residents will be able to get up to $2,000 rebate for doing these kind of green infrastructure implants into their homes. So this is bringing in, we've worked with the Clinton River Watershed Council for some time now on this program, and now we're bringing in the Friends of the Rouge program to do it in the communities that aren't part of the Clinton River system. That's Farmington Hills, Farmington, the other part of Southfield, and some other communities in that area. So this will benefit those communities now, and they'll be able to do this for the next 2 years, and much bigger programs. So we're really looking forward to this. This will help those communities control their stormwater. Again, more and more communities are working with us or by themselves to do this. And so this is, again, an example of how we can work this into just how people run their own properties. We've worked with communities. Communities across this county are doing this work for the property they own, their own roads, their parks, all these kind of things. And now we're doing it into the residential areas, which is very, very important to these same communities because 60% of their area is residential. So again, as part of this green infrastructure push we've been doing, we're working with Pontiac again at Aaron Perry Park and at Oakland Park. They're doing stormwater improvements. Again, this is green infrastructure. For the Aaron Perry Park, it's an $807,000 project, and the project will create 50,000 square feet of wetlands. What was part of a corner of this park, beautiful little park, every time it rained significantly, it'd just be mud. The grass would turn to mud, and nobody could really use that part of the park. So instead, we're building a wetlands there with a path around it and native plants all around it. Again, this controls stormwater. It lessens what gets into the system. It stops that being just a muddy part every time it rains, and instead it's part of that park now. So this is a wonderful thing. Oakland Park is just a few blocks away. It was a $528,000 project. It created more than 13,200 square feet of wetlands and native plants to reduce pollutants, again, by absorbing stormwater runoff. Whenever you're doing this green infrastructure, it's not just for stormwater. It's also aesthetically pleasing. Who doesn't like flower gardens? Who doesn't like trees? It's one of those things that is very beneficial. They bring pollinators, and they bring the birds that eat the pollinators. So all these things contribute to more nature in this city. And again, whenever you're putting in green infrastructure, wetlands into an urban area like that, that serves everybody. You get more spill-off of birds, of more wildlife, of more insects that do the pollinating. So all of these things have a significant payback. And we've been working with parks, Oakland County Parks, so they put in some funding to replace some park amenities, including a little bicycle repair station. And when we were down there inspecting it, somebody rode up on their bike and repaired their bike while we were standing there. So these kind of things, again, are useful. They really encourage people to get out into their neighborhoods in the parks. So we really, really like doing these projects. These were non-match grants, so it didn't cost anything to the city of Pontiac, and it really serves them well. We got a National Association for Clean Water Agencies Award for the Platinum Peak Performance for our Walled Lake Novi wastewater treatment plant. This is 20 years of excellence in wastewater treatment. We have not, we've been in compliance with our NPDES permit for all that 20 years. We've never had a violation. So that's a really award that means a lot to my staff because they're the ones that are out there doing that every single day for our communities. We also have won the National Association of Counties Award winner for Resiliency, Infrastructure, Energy, and Sustainability with the Norton Street Innovation Stormwater Improvement Project, another green infrastructure that we put not far from this campus, just kind of southeast of us here. We actually, on campus, the mainland drain contributes flow to that drain, which again, this is a grant that we got from Eagles State Revolving Fund, $1.3 million, again, no match for this. And we improved the quality of the Clinton River by all this runoff from the street. In a rain, at part of this street where we put this improvement project in, any significant rain, the water would get up on the street, it would gather there, and it would slowly go off into the, right down into that drain, which would carry pollutants from the road. So now this green infrastructure has these little places where the water will flow into, and these native plants filter that before it goes into the ground, and that leaves a significant reduction in the amount of water that gets into that drain and the pollution that carries with it. So all of these things are part of our mission. We work with communities all over Oakland County. Every single community we work in one way or another. Much of it is sustainability work because our biggest issue right now is replacing the old infrastructure that is in some places failing. It hasn't been ours so much, but it's been Great Lakes Water Authority. We've seen those pipes that have burst in the past few years. What we do is work every day to make sure that those things don't happen anymore, that they don't happen in our system. Asset management is a vitally important part of what we do. And again, we have been really building that system dramatically. When I came into office 14 years ago, we had like, I think 1 or 2 camera trucks. Now we have 9. So we're out there in these communities making sure that their infrastructure is kept up to the way it has to be. And that's what we do. We work with every community to make sure that that's done. Whether it's our systems within their communities or the operation and maintenance we do for 23 communities in Oakland County. So whether it's those 2 things, we're always looking out for the best interest, trying to do the most important work, the most efficiently, and with the greatest collaboration and transparency with the communities we serve. So that's it for my kind of introduction here. Whatever questions you have, whatever you want to talk about from our presentation here, we're happy to do that.
Okay. Are you going to talk about your slides at all, or you just want us to
We
take
can if you
questions?
like. We can have my folks talk about them because they're the ones that, that do all this stuff. And our general funds is very, very small part of our budget, so we can go over that part if you'd like, whatever you'd like to talk about.
If there's questions on the slides, we'd be happy to answer them.
Okay.
I think that'd be the best way to approach it.
Let's do that. All right. I will open the floor to the commissioners. If you have questions for this group, I can't believe we wouldn't have questions for this group. Commissioner Powell.
The presentation notes that WRC is deleting 48 positions and create 11 new positions. Can you explain what work is being eliminated, reorganized, contracted out, or reassigned, and whether residents or local governments will notice any change in service?
Thank you. One of the things that we've tried to do this year is take care of some of the vacant positions that we haven't filled for more than 12 months, and that's what this is doing, is getting rid of some of those positions. We have, so I think it's 41 positions, or there's a discrepancy somewhere, but none of the positions have been filled for more than 12 months. 23 of the positions are part-time, and they haven't been used. 5 of the positions are from the Commerce Township plant, which we no longer operate. So those employees have been reassigned to other units within WRC. And then the remainder are just unused positions that are not necessarily needed at this time. And then the new positions are going to reflect on asset management, as Commissioner spoke about, some of those positions, and then also staff assistants to assist with some of the day-to-day operations on the office.
Okay, thank you. And then when costs are passed along to local communities and ultimately residents, how do you decide whether those costs should be absorbed immediately, phased in, or explained differently to avoid rate shock?
I can address that. So when we work with our local communities, we look at the operation and maintenance that's required, that's going to impact whether it's the local community system or a much larger system, which makes up, up to 10 or 14 communities. And so we meet with some communities or groups of communities quarterly and talk about the projects we have upcoming, so there is no rate shock, so they know exactly what to plan for in their own budgeting process for their own sewer and water rates. So it's that close communication, close cooperation with the communities to avoid that rate shock, so they know what is coming up.
And do we also, when we do notify them of any changes, consider their budget times at municipalities and stuff so that we don't scare them?
For sure, it's a process we have established. We call it our rate season. We just finished it. So we share our estimates with them where we think we are, and oftentimes we make a recommendation to communities what the rates are going to be for those communities we contract with, and we will present at their township boards or city councils to justify exactly what we're recommending. Ultimately, for the communities with contracts, they have to accept our recommendation, but we go there to make our case.
Thank you. I have one question, but before that, I just wanted to tell Mr. Nash, thank you for always taking my call.
Of course.
And thank you for all the transformations y'all doing in the city of Pontiac. Well overdue, but just thank you. And your staff has also been very, very responsive to the constituents there and assisting, because we've had a lot of educational curve with our residents there with all the things y'all doing there. So thank you. And then my last question, I asked it last week. Cyber attack. We're really just getting an update, I just want to know. So recent national news has raised concerns about cyber attacks on water system across the country. Has WRC seen any attacks or warnings, which you addressed that, involving our water system? But one thing we want to know now is, and does this budget fully support the cybersecurity backup operations and emergency response needs to address that risk? And I know it may be a partnership with our other department, but I know you can give us a
Yes.
update. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, we partner with IT. They help us tremendously to make sure we're aware of what's going on in the world. All of our systems that are out in the world are all connected via SCADA, which is our supervisory control and data acquisition system. And we have a full-time engineer who supports that system, and he has a staff that supports that system also. So we're plugged into what's going on at the national and state level. We're making sure we know what's happening. We have not been attacked, but we're always on guard. So yes, and you'll see, actually coming forward, we'll have a couple projects to help beef up our cybersecurity. So you'll be seeing those in the coming months.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Long.
Thank you. So just to follow up on Commissioner Powell, she asked a lot of mine about the rate charges. So is a Great Lakes Water Authority suggesting any, helping us with cost efficiencies and ideas for the rates so they can go lower? I mean, I see the trend, they keep going up, and so I'm just wondering, like when you do they still give us the lower rate when you fill the towers up, during the day? Are we still doing that? Or during the non-peak hours, I should say?
Right.
We're still getting discounts for that?
That's occurring, but as more and more people did it, then it was less profitable, right? So the first one there gets the most savings. But we do work, we have a staff of 2 that work primarily with Great Lakes Water Authority on all kinds of rate type things. They sit in all their committee meetings, they go to all the rate studies and things like that. So we're plugged into what they're doing. We're constantly trying to get the best deal we can get for our customers from Great Lakes Water Authority. But they're passing along rates of 5.8% increase to water and 4.3% on sewer. So that.
Is that coming up? That's the next one? That's what it is now?
That's the current year, yeah. That's what
10%.
we just. Yeah. So it's rough because you see in the news they've got a lot of things going on in their system. It's aging, and they have to do a lot of work to maintain that and fix it and replace it. That's going to be costly to all of us.
Okay. And I did happen to be at the Commerce Township meeting when you were presenting the rate increase and stuff. So sometimes on that one I kind of felt like sometimes the communities act like they didn't know, but I thought you did an excellent presentation on that. I was there, so just wanted to say I happened to be at that board meeting, and then some other things came out like they didn't know, and I knew, and I was at that board meeting. So all right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gershenson.
Well, I understand that you do present to all the local communities the issue, and you do a great job. I have seen your presentation as well. But the issue is in social media, when it goes down to the residents, and the residents are having a very negative reaction to the rate increases. And I'm sure we've talked about it before, but.
Sure. Well, for most communities, the Great Lakes Water Authority is the bulk of their bills, 75, 80%. It just depends. And for each individual community, for water, virtually every community has an individual contract with the Great Lakes Water Authority. So, but with sewage, generally it's systems, like the Evergreen Farmington systems, like 12 communities, the Clinton River Water ones, 14 communities. So it depends on what's going on in that community. If there's a lot of projects going on in a community, then that's added to whatever it is, the operations and maintenance, and then the CLEWA charges. Some communities have more construction. The other, Pontiac's going through a lot of construction right now. Other communities are doing those same things. For the Clinton River system, when we did our asset management some years ago, we found issues that have to be addressed, and they're starting like a multi-year project that's going to affect the rates for all those communities. But again, whenever you're doing asset management, you got to remember, whenever you're doing a planned project, it's going to be a quarter of the cost of an emergency project. So if we're not planning that, doing that asset management, then we have failures. Remember back in 2016 in Macomb County, they had a 100-foot underground pipe collapse, and it literally took down 3 houses. If we're not doing that, that cost them $75 million to repair. It could cost them less than $10 million if they'd done it as a part of asset management. So that's what we're always doing. We're seeing what the costs are. We're trying to make sure that we're not hitting the ratepayers too much. But again, with the Great Lakes Water Authority, this year's was the biggest rate increase they had since its inception. Some of that is that because in previous years they were raising it 1%, 2%. If you're not keeping up with the repairs, you're going to have a cost to pay at the end. That's what they're catching up to now. So that's part of what they're doing. And again, part of that is these pipes that have been failing, very expensive to fix. So that's get paid by everybody in this system. So that's part of these costs and how they're distributed. Mostly, it's either the Great Lakes Water Authority or the local projects that are going on in any particular community. Did I answer your question?
Sort of, mostly.
Okay, I can always answer any questions, if you want to talk to me later.
Jim, I can add to that.
Oh, please, he can add.
So certainly we have a communications team at our office. That's one of the things we're looking to do, improve, is engage with the local community about why the rates are increasing, what are you getting for the money, what are we investing in, what are the capital projects that we have planned that to raise the necessary revenue to do this work. And I think if we can get out in front of that and cooperating with our communities, it won't be a shock or a surprise. They'll see exactly what our plans are. And we have that information. It's pushing it out is our challenge.
Right. Utilizing that team is important.
Yes.
We do it all the time, so I think that's a good strategy.
Agreed. Commissioner Powell?
I just have one more question. So this is just a general question. CFO, correct? Do all our departments have CFO? This is the first time I've
No, I'm sorry. He's chief of the financial services unit.
Oh, I was about to say, no, wait a minute. We got 2 CFOs. Okay, never mind, because I was looking at you. Okay, never mind, thank you. Never mind.
Okay. Commissioner Erickson, go.
Thank you for the Rain Smart tour that I took
That was
last
neat.
week. That was great, and it was wonderful to actually see the results of our investment in action and how much the tour was, I think, almost entirely in Ferndale, which was a community that I remember someone on the tour, maybe you, saying that was a community that's really embraced us. And I know you spoke earlier about that this was funded through a grant. The expansion of the program beyond the George W. Kuhn Drain District was funded through a grant. Do we anticipate continuing to get that grant funding, or is there another sustainable source? Because I would really hate to see this program contract or go away, because people love it.
Oh, it's true, they do. And I think, again, when we showed them the proof of concept that this is something that would really be popular, I think they've taken it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do some in other areas too, just to show this and make it, grow. I would love to see that happen. We will absolutely apply again. I mean, I think again, it's a great program, and it really educates the public. That's one of its most important aspects, is educating the public. When people see something, a rain garden in their front yard, we have little plaques that we put in it to kind of explain to them what it's about. And it's just, people instinctively like nature. I've walked neighborhoods for my whole political career, and the one thing you notice is people have plants around their house, and they like flowers, and it's not something they think about, it's just something they appeals to them. So a part of this is it's an effective way of helping our gray infrastructure cope with the storms we're getting. That's also, it's aesthetically pleasing. And again, it brings in the pollinators. So at that thing we did Friday, we had folks from Eagle, from all the organizations, the watershed groups, local folks that were very involved in this. It's getting into those neighborhoods. People appreciate that. And people see me and talk to me about it because When I started this, I would ask, ever heard of green infrastructure? And maybe 5 people in a room would say it. Now, basically, everybody in the room understands what it is. So it's a way of addressing this with less cost and more public cooperation that I think is something that's going to really catch hold.
Commissioner Spiz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How you doing, Jim? A couple of questions, and I think they're all interlinked to a degree. I'm going to follow up a little bit on Commissioner Gershison's question. With the issue we had in Auburn Hills / Lake Orion with the main break, where does that money come from? Is it come out of our budget for 2026, or is it 100% GLEWA?
I'm sorry, you mean to repair that?
To repair, yeah.
Oh,
I
that
know
comes-
because you mentioned emergencies, right? Prices go through the roof when we have an emergency.
I'm going to let him explain.
Correct, yeah. So it's a Great Lakes Water Authority main, and so then that is part of their budgetary cost, and then is part of their revenue requirement that they pass on to us as part of the
To
rate.
100% onto us, or do they kind of do it?
Well, it takes away from other projects that aren't getting done now, right? So they
Okay.
have projects queued up in their capital plan that aren't going to get done because of this project.
I gotcha. Okay, which kind of leads to my second question. You mentioned Commerce a little earlier, that they've looked to go somewhere else. Is there any risk of any other municipalities that may do the same thing?
Not that we're aware of, but we continue to get inquiries from other communities that want to bring on us as their
So do
operator.
they balance each other out in most cases? So do we have somebody to replace Commerce?
Not yet, but.
But you're working on it?
Yes.
Yeah, and then my other question is it's really pennies on the dollar here on some of these. It just, where is it? Because you asked my risk question. Just simple question. Page 390, just the other revenues, it just looks like sale of old equipment, sale stuff. It's like $8,000. Is that realistic? Is it low? I mean, to me, it seems low if we're selling anything, because I know a lot of our equipment's pretty pricey. And even if we sell old stuff, it's just, for 27, it's like $8,000. Page 390, other revenue. Page 390, yeah, big book.
You got it, or you need my big book?
Big book, yep.
I got it. Yep. So 390, we're talking about sewage disposal systems. So this is salvage of equipment that's owned by the sewage disposal system. So this is small little pieces of equipment, maybe generators, things like that. That
Okay,
are
it's not like
part of the
not
system.
big trucks or anything like that. Gotcha, I gotcha. And then the other point was on page 391, had to do with membership dues going from 22 to 55. Okay. 731213.
Yeah, it looks like it's inconsistent year over year. So it's 38, 61, and then we adopted 22 this year, and they're going back up to 55. So it looks like we were averaging that.
So there's not any additional
Is that correct, Leo?
organizations that we're joining that requires to pay dues or something?
Yeah, professional service, or membership and dues.
Membership dues.
Professional services you guys are associated with to stay current on sewer disposal issues.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, the other one's been answered before, so I think I'm good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Taylor?
Oh, yes. I just have, I know you're an elected, but you surround yourself with a great staff, which I do have to commend. They are very responsive. Whenever we call, you all respond, and I really appreciate that. So I want to say thank you. No matter what my questions are, you always respond. So thank you very much. But for you, succession planning, you want to keep yourself surrounded with great people. So are you doing things, or what kinds of things are you doing to keep them in place or train someone?
We do succession planning. You want to?
Absolutely.
Sure. Succession planning is huge in our business. There's a whole slew of folks, half a dozen chief engineers and dozens of engineers and field operations staff and all the units that we have that feed up into what we're here today that we talk about. And each unit does have a succession plan. And one of the things we found, it is working. I know we had 4 very seasoned professionals leave in the last 6 months of our office. And so we did have plans to replace them, but then, we're still have to go and get other professionals to keep everybody in the queue. So each unit does have a succession plan, and we feel very comfortable with our leadership succession plan. You know, at the highest levels, we have some great staff that maybe you just don't see every day, that we're blessed to have.
Thank you.
And workforce development is very important to us. We need more young folks coming in. My staff looks a lot more like me than they do coming out of college. So we need young folks, high school students, high school graduates, college graduates. We really are trying to make sure we're filling our ranks so we can have more young folks coming up.
Oh, and you also work a lot with contracts and stuff. So do you have a plan, or what's your plan to maintain and keep those on time so that when one's expiring, you're on top of it at least, 3 to 6 months, so that you don't run into issues, especially where you are?
Sure, we are.
Yeah, we have our own procurement tech who works very closely with procurement to make sure that we're on top of contracts and that we don't lapse and have problems that require coming to see you guys. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just have a couple of things. So GLWA and their big water main breaks, the two of them that they have recently had, and I'm very sensitive to one of them because it's right on top of my community. They used a pipe that was from the 70s, supposedly a 100-year pipe, and it has failed. And when they came to talk to my community about it, they said, this manufacturer, of course, is out of business years ago, and that it was only 4% of the pipes nationwide that had this issue. We had 2 of them. My question to you is, does our Water Resources Commissioner system have any of those in it? Any of that particular pipe in our system, and what are we doing about that?
Yeah, you're talking about the large diameter water main. These are very,
Yep.
very large.
Yeah,
And
with the wires and the,
Yes, correct. And we don't, it's pre-stressed concrete is what it is. And we don't have any of those in our systems because there's a much smaller pipe. So we're at 12, 18, 24-inch pipe. We're not in the big category like that. So we're immune from that, but we're not immune to other things.
Okay, all right.
So when it was created, they defined that as a certain size or bigger pipe was their responsibility. So anything smaller than that is the locals or, Detroit itself. That's how it was delineated when they created it.
When they created the GLWA?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I guess that was really my only question. I'm up to date on what you guys are doing because I get to visit you once a month for the drain board meeting, so. Mr. Commissioner Spiz.
Sorry, I forgot to ask one question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Relative to the new building in discussion, is any of that included in this budget? Like in revenue increases for the bond, because I know we're going to charge the municipalities for percent.
No,
Is anything in here at all?
We do have, there's budgeted in contractual services for continuing to work on that. We don't have approval to proceed at this point. We will be coming forward at some point in the future to request that, but it is part of what's in the budget for Drain Equipment Fund.
Okay, so you'll come forward with a budget amendment if that gets approved.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gershenson.
Just to follow up on that, where is that in the budget?
It's in Drain Equipment Fund, 63900 is the fund, and it shows up in contractual services.
Oh, it's under contractual. Thank you.
Drain, 63900.
Any other questions for the Water Resources Commissioner and his team? Well, seeing nobody else.
Well, I appreciate it, as always.
Appreciate y'all coming in. You're a fun department to talk to because you do
As always,
good
if
stuff.
any questions, please never hesitate to ring me. I can always get somebody to answer them for you, so.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, so that concludes the presentation portion of our agenda. And at this point, we have a public comment. So is there anyone who wishes to address the Finance Committee today in public comment? Seeing no one, I will close the public comment. Is there any other business to come before this committee today? Seeing none, I will call this meeting adjourned.